blackness I aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benscop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention, education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benscop upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and pon the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benscop stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop.
This is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you, so call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Right about now, I live in Guyana right about now. Like I am in Guyana no more. I think I will go and yeah, me visa, and I go fly out, and I go to Bormis, and I go relax me because I am in Guyana no more. I am in Guyana. I gotta go Bormis. I fly now go Bormis. Things cheap there.
Pressure boss pipe. Pressure boss pipe, baby.
Source. Okay, well, maybe the Chinese company that did not get the agreement that they wanted here, maybe they're the ones who told you. Or it could be just a fictitious thing.
Okay, well, let's talk about specific individuals. What is your relationship with Mr. Su Jerome?
So my relationship? Nothing. He's a tenant in my place, yeah.
And he's a good friend of yours?
Yes, yes. He is a friend of ours. His father was here from many years ago.
I mean, he lives next door to you.
Yes.
You know, he was able to arrange meetings and catch-ups with you at any point in the day. He claims
As a friend, yeah.
He claims that through his very close relationship with you, he's able to get any deal done.
Well, I don't know
and
if that's.
Able to change laws for investors.
But then which law has been changed for any investor?
So Sue told us that if you want to get anything done in Guyana, you need some hookups. I'm very close with the Vice President and the other officials. The Vice President and I share a very close relationship. Also, if we do the business, he'll help out no matter what. There's no one else who can help like he does. He also said us when he's talking about...
Yes, but help...
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Killian Mall, 162 Lamaha Street, in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your legal issues settled and brought to the fore. Alistair Collins Firm. Contact them at Alistair Collins Firm.
All right, hey, guess what? Good evening and welcome to Straight Up. We're going to rock and roll for about an hour. I'll be joined by my guest, no stranger to you guys, Dr. David Hines. We will be talking about some things, in fact, a lot of things happening in Guyana, and not so good things, actually, not so good things, so we'll talk about that and more. I noticed Lemon already has up something up here that talks about rapper Meek Mill posted bail for 20 jailed women, and not jailed women in Guyana, but jailed women in the United States of America to spend the holidays with their loved ones. We're not seeing this. Nobody's posting bail for anybody in Guyana. You have lots of women in the New Amsterdam prisons on minor charges. A lot of them couldn't post bail. But yet we have some of these vagabonds in the private sector commission or on the private sector commission who don't pay their rates and taxes, who owe millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes. They just don't pay their taxes at all. And then again, I just thought that we just put that up there. Hey, good evening and welcome to Straight Up. My name is Mark Benchap. Hope you've enjoyed your Christmas and enjoying your Kwanzaa and preparing for the new year, 2023. Wasn't really the best of year in Guyana, oil producing country, billions of dollars, billions of US dollars. And what is there for the people? Absolutely nothing is there for the people. This is something we want to talk about in the billion-dollar oil industry, billions of dollars, your money being drained out of the country. We see it happening, but yet you have members of the Guyana police force. Yes, you're seeing there correctly. They're not there to arrest anybody from the Mohammed's enterprise, that quote unquote business in Guyana. They're there to collect pittance. They're there to collect handouts. Imagine the Guyana police force budget for 2022 is over $17 billion. But yet members of the Guyana police force have to line up by this business entity to collect pittance. 10,000, 5,000, 20,000, and if you're lucky, you get a little 30, 40, 50, whatever. Where on earth, in any democratic society, this is allowed to happen? Only in Guyana. And some people thought that they were out there in front of Mohammed's enterprise to make an arrest because, concerning this murder, Ricardo Fagundes, the one of the business partners, so to speak, of Mohammed's enterprise, has been said to be a suspect. The police didn't come out to say whether this guy, whatever his name is, Azruddin or whatever, is a suspect or not, or whether he's still a suspect. They haven't said anything about that. They haven't arrested him. They haven't questioned him, as far as I'm aware. And then you have this here, another guy who works there at Mohammed's enterprise as a security, quote unquote security, is a murder suspect in the murder of Fagundes. This guy, don't forget, Dion Bascom, Detective Sergeant Dion Bascom, life is still at risk. They can flush him out at any moment. They have what it takes, the resources and everything, to flush this guy out at any given time. So we gotta keep our eyes on this detective. We really have to. His life is in danger. And while his life is in danger, members, his colleagues are lining up at the businessman place, quote unquote businessman, who is said to be a suspect, but yet the police cannot arrest the individual or the so-called security guy who works for him to question them. Now, nobody's saying that they're guilty. Nobody's saying that they murdered anybody. But according to what Bascom has said, and the police they have not denied that he is still a suspect. But yet these police folks are out there collecting pittance. 5,000 and 10,000, that's Guyana dollars, I'm sure. It couldn't be US. If it's a US, he may probably give them a little 50 US, a little $100 or whatever. Let's get straight to the line. Lemon, how are you? And what's your take on this? Let's start right off the bat. Forget about happy holidays. Forget about all of that. Right off the bat, your take, sir.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Lemon, you guys ain't hear me for a long time. Good evening, everyone. The police force is goons. They are they they are they are controlled by the Mohammeds, and it's just sad to see the police forces lining up by the Mohammeds for little gifts. It's sad what Guyana is turning into.
Exactly. They're lining up there for little buns and mobby and a little curry crab money, pittances. Look at this. A shame and a disgrace, an oil producing country. Look at this. Just look at this.
It's very sad. It's very, very sad. You know,
When you have this situation, how do you expect the police to function when it comes to anything pertaining to the Mohammeds? How do
well,
you expect them to function?
it's kind of function. There's no law and order because the Mohammed could do anything in Guyana, kill someone, anything the Mohammed could do, and get away with it.
Absolutely
It's
anything.
very a shame, disgraceful. You know, very, very disgraceful.
Is there anything else that's bothering you before we go? Because you just have to head back to work. We have Dr. David Hines is set to come on with us. You've got to make sure you line him up properly. Anything else that's bothering you, sir?
Well, I just worry about the way the country is running, the way the police, the Guyana police force is being controlled by the corrupt PAP regime. You know, and it's very a shame the way they're taking orders from the people that are going to arrest people. It's very, very, very a shame of the Guyana police force.
Shameless indeed. Lemon, you will be back on before the end of the year, hopefully. People are dying to see your face. They really do want to see your face. Give my regards to the other two new employees at Pen Shop Radio, 107.1 FM. Give my regards to Vance and Ron and the other new employees. I know that you're busy training them there.
Yes, I'm training them.
Yes, yes. You want them to say a quick word to let me see how they're doing on the job.
Well,
Yeah,
Vance is very cooperative, and
yes. So yeah.
he's trying to do his best.
All right.
Hear from
Thank you.
Vance. Hey, you want to hear from Vance?
Yeah, that's so glad that
Ron, hold on one second.
you guys are in the studio, and I just appreciate the fact.
Hey, what's up, cuz?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much. And they are indeed part of Bench Up Radio. They're in the studio, and they're working alongside Lemon. Thank you guys for your service. We have a nice package for you guys for the new year coming up. And let me have you guys get back to work. Thank you so much, Lemon, Ron, and Vance there in the studio. Appreciate it, sir. Yeah. All right. Those are our workers, 107.1 FM. We got to make sure we get them a nice... we didn't get them a nice, good enough, a Christmas bonus, but we'll get them something for the new year. Hopefully, something. They can be like these cops come and line up for something. You know what I mean? Speaking of lining up, we have Dr. David Hines with us. Right now, we get straight over to Dr. David Hines. I'm looking at this photograph with these policemen and women lining up by the Mohammeds. And I'm not sure if Dr. David Hines was ever a cop, but I'm trying to look and see if I see him there in the line. I'm not seeing him there in the line. Dr. David Hines, good evening to you, my friend. How are you?
Oh, well, trying to enjoy what there is to enjoy in the season of goodwill, but dealing with the depression that one feels when one looks at photographs like the one you're showing there. And I say depression because, people like yourself and myself have been fighting in the valleys, for decades. And I ask myself, is this what I have given my life for? Is this what I've given my life for? Policemen and women turning themselves into serfs and turning themselves into enslaved people again. I am depressed.
Depressed indeed. Looking at this photograph in an oil-rich economy, supposedly billions of dollars, the budget for the Guyana police force for 2022 is basically 17.5, I believe, $billion. But yet they are allowed to line up for pittances, 20,000, 5,000, I suppose. But what is so troubling is the individual is said to be a suspect in a murder case. The police have not arrested him, as far as we are aware. They have not arrested a worker of the Mohammed's enterprise there, a security guard in the murder, allegedly, mind you, allegedly. We are not hearing anything about this matter, the murder of Ricardo Fagundes. But yet we're seeing the very police, men and women, lining up to collect pittances. Again, you said it's depressing, Dr. David Hines. It's more than depressing. It's dangerous, dangerous waters, dangerous days ahead in 2022. There can be nothing good coming out of this, even though it gives a different impression. It makes the business people them there at Mohammed's Enterprise feel good, that for now they're running the show and they can pay policemen and women and they're offering gifts and all manner of things. But this doesn't look good for the country. Dark days are ahead. We have been in the struggle, as you've indicated. We understand the signs. We understand what is ahead. Talk to us a little bit more about how dangerous this is, Dr. David Hines.
Well, Mark, when a society descends, so the situation that our society has descended to, we're not talking here about direct politics. We're talking about it in indirect, where the measure of where a society is where its citizens are. And when we look at what the government is in the process of relegating our citizens to, then we get a sense of the true nature of our society. Often we go directly to the politics, and the politics, we know it's terrible. But the real reflection of what the politics are doing to our people. And I'm saying that there are policemen and women who are not showing any dignity. Say, I am not going there to collect a pittance. I am not doing that. Is that too much for you to do? I am not going there. We are the members of the police force. We are responsible for service and protection. We are who you call upon to maintain order. And we need to be treated with dignity. The only order you are obeying is when you're ordered to go shoot your brothers and sisters. And when you're ordered to go and make yourself a puppy show like this, you go like a little mouse. These are not ordinary, regular citizens. These are citizens with the police, with the uniform of the state on. Our young boys and girls should be looking up to these people. But can you look up to them when they act in such spineless ways? It is the season of goodwill. And it is a time when we should be spreading joy and wishing each other the best. But I can't wish these sisters and brothers the best. The least they could do is say, no, I'm not going there. The least. And when you see this, you understand how deep in the doo-doo our country has sunk in 2.5 years. It's there to be seen.
Definitely, it's the evidence is right there. While Dr. David Hines is saying it's shameless, of course it's shameless. I don't know who would agree with this. Any right-thinking person would agree with this. There might be some of these same policemen and women who are out there, got no shame, lining up to collect crumbs from these people. Crumbs. They're there to serve and protect, but yet they're lining up to collect Christmas crumbs. I don't care what gifts they collected, whether it's monetary or whatever. This is shameful. And they can't say they went there for Friday prayers. They just can't say they went there for that. It is a shame and a disgrace. But ordinary citizens in the streets, a little boy or girl from Albaistown, from wherever, some poor community, these very police will go hastily to arrest, to probably beat up or whatever else. But others in society claiming to be big businessmen and women, the police would dare not go to arrest them. But instead, we see in this photograph, they're lining up to collect crumbs or whatever else they're collecting. We also saw a video of policemen or police women dancing after they just got crumbs of an 8% increase from the installed PPP regime. Of course, that video was staged. They were forced to dance. But what is your take on that? 8% on the dancing of some of these policemen and women.
Mark, let me just join you and say that I love those policemen and women. They're my brothers, my sisters, my daughters, my sons. I love them. I will continue to advocate for them. But I have to say, respect does not necessarily flow from that love. When I witness these scenes, I'm saying, why in 2022 you are dancing for these people? We were forced to dance for 400 years. Our foreparents took care of that to ensure that we never dance again. against our will. And here in 2022, you're seeing this. What does that young man or young woman who wants to join the police force, why should he or she join such a force? Why should he or she have any respect for the police after witnessing these scenes? Have we no shame left? Oh my God, whatever else they did to us during slavery, when we walked out of that plantation, we walked out with our dignity. That is why we were able to buy land and set up villages and human rights Guyana, because we have dignity. And these people, whether they're doing it under duress or of their own volition, they are selling back that dignity to the plantation. Come on, come on, come on. We ought to be better than that. We ought to be better than that. I'm enraged. I'm enraged. And the policemen and women, like the soldiers who are crying, the police get more money than we. They all have let down the race. They've let down poor people, and they've let down humanity in our country.
Shame and disgrace indeed. Shame on those police men and women who lined up there to collect pittances, crumbs, dalpuri money. It's a shame and disgrace. Speaking of the army and how they are begging for a little increase, a monthly bonus or whatever, are you surprised at all? Because people seem to forget how Bharat Jagdev and the PPP guys feel about the military. This was Bharat Jagdev back in 2015 saying here, when they link up with the military, they, of course, PNC people, you know what they mean by ethnicity. When they link up with the military and come into your homes and start kicking the doors down, and when they come after you, who is going to be there? The same military they were talking about. They were talking about the police force. What has changed, or has anything changed really, Dr. Hines?
No, nothing has changed. But the policemen and women and the army and these people in uniform, they have changed. They have decided that the PPP is in power, and if you can't beat them, join them. That mentality has never gotten us anywhere. You have to fight back against injustice. Here we are arguing for equal wages. Here we are arguing for equal access to resources and wealth. And there you are, you with the capacity to resist, failing to resist. At one level, I'm surprised, but at another level, I am not surprised. When you beat the human spirit, or put another way, when human beings allow you to beat their spirit down, over time they become helpless. The cynicism that you can take things from the oppressor and go vote against it tomorrow is what it is, cynicism. Principle dictates that you don't mess with oppressors. You keep them at arm's length or further. But when you believe that you're more smart than the oppressor, in the end you get caught in the net and you become helpless, shameless, spineless. And I'm afraid that these brothers and sisters, like I said, who I love, are beginning to lose whatever little dignity they still have.
Indeed, whatever little dignity, some of them probably never had any dignity. And we must stop wasting our energy showing people who burn up our energy, showing them love when they embrace oppressors and they're not on the side of justice and on the side of truth. In 2023, we got to toss these people aside. We got to stop embracing them. we just got to toss them aside. They got to know who they are, that they're enemies of the people. And these policemen and women should have known better. I show them absolutely no love, absolutely none whatsoever. They know what's happening in the country. They have disrespected the people. They have disrespected the oath that they have sworn on. They have taken an oath to serve and protect the people. And this is what they have reduced themselves to. I have absolutely no love, no respect, no regards for them, for these individuals and others who would have stooped to this level. This doesn't mean that I do not respect the other fair-minded individuals in the Guyana police force. I salute them. Those who didn't take the pittances, I salute them. But for these shameless creatures, I show them no love, none whatsoever, nor respect. That's just my opinion, Dr. Hines, on that. I see you wanted to say something else before.
No, I share that opinion. I think that they are wonderful men and women in the police force. I talk to them all the time. They are remorseful about what is being done in their names. So this is not painting the force with one broad brush, but it is pointing to a tendency. This is more than just a few misguided individuals. This is a tendency. And it's a dangerous tendency. Because when you are put to shame by a regime like this, if the regime had any respect for you, it will not have policemen and women going and collect a pittance like that. Nothing is wrong in giving the people a little small piece. Nothing is wrong with that. But to have them go in public and to make themselves into puppy shows like this, you will not see that what these people are doing, they're putting you all out there for the rest of the world to see that you all have no spine and you all walk into it. What have we done? What have we done? I'm sure your parents did not prepare you for this. Your teachers did not prepare you for this. Come on, people. Come on, poor people. Come on, black people.
Dr. Hines, you did say that there's nothing wrong with collecting a little, whatever it is. We live in a small raised society. And because of that attitude, because of that small race culture, it has corrupted the entire nation, where people who are basically in a position where they should avoid collecting gifts from private citizens, collecting gifts from businesses, so-called businesses. Some of these policemen and women collect gifts and monies from drug lords and money launderers and gold smugglers and all categories of individuals. There is something that is wrong about that. Police, as we know in the US and maybe other places, whenever they do something like that, they're fired. Policemen and women in the US cannot go and line up at a business entity to collect money, to collect gifts or anything like that. In my opinion, it is unacceptable for those things to happen in Guyana. And when business people in Guyana, we're confining it to Guyana, when they feel that they can give money and gifts to the Guyana police force, it simply means that they're untouchable, that nobody can touch them. They can do anything. They can drive past security check. Their kids can do anything, and the police can't do a darn thing. That's the culture we have created, and it has got to stop. Why do you think there is this perception that the Mohammeds feel that they run Guyana, that they control the police force, they control? It has got to stop. Police got to stop selling their souls. And it's allowed to happen because of bad leadership in the Guyana police force. There's nowhere on earth I'm going to sit there as commissioner of police and allow my men and women to do that. Absolutely not. Dr. Hines.
I completely agree with you. I completely agree with you. And I'm wondering whether it's not a violation of the law for policemen and women to be going to a private entity to collect money like that. This is not the little boy or the little girl from the village or some ward in Georgetown going and collect a little small piece of Christmas. Something must be legally wrong for members of the protective and coercive arms of the state to be openly, in full view of the world, going to collect gifts from private entities who are into business and who are likely to ask favors of those very policemen and women. I think it's something that one needs to ask the court to pronounce on.
And that is
It's
where
morally wrong. It's morally wrong. We know that. It's morally wrong.
Well,
it's
the
also
commissioner,
legally
the
wrong.
guy who sits there as the acting commissioner, we see who he's posing with, the one of the owners there of Mohammed's enterprise. We see it. This is what's happening. And it's a shame that Guyana has reduced to this level, questionable level. Only, I'm not even sure. We keep saying only God can change things or turn things around in Guyana. Let's hope that it's done quickly. Dr. Hines, are you still there with us? All right, we've lost Dr. David Hines here for a quick minute. Let us move on to some other stuff. As we indicated sometime last week, the ISIS and state terror, the ISIS-like murders in Guyana, a suspect in some gold theft got his throat slit sometime last week. ISIS style, read between the lines, ISIS style. It's going to get worse. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a pessimist, but I'm seeing the signs. I've been there, done that, in terms of activism, in terms of a ruthless regime, in terms of a police force that is basically in bed with drug lords, gold smugglers, in bed with businesses or business owners who are wanted by various U.S. law enforcement agencies, all these different things. And then we see policemen and women selling their souls, selling whatever little dignity they may have, selling it for not even 20 pieces of silver, just some pieces of crumbs. Shame and sorry about that. Usual technical hiccups, blockouts in Guyana. We're hoping to be joined again by Dr. David Hines. We lost him there. Let's move on to some other stuff while we await Dr. David Hines to rejoin us. We see here that the PNC is looking for a general secretary. They're still looking for a general secretary because the general secretary that they had jumped overboard and left them in the ocean, just jumped and left them. Politics is just about that these days, where people get into politics for just maybe a little show, maybe a little duty-free concessions, maybe a little whatever it is, fashion show. And that's not the sort of politics we're accustomed to. That's the politics we're seeing at the moment. We're not seeing strong enough politicians. We're not seeing strong enough members of the members of parliament in the opposition going out there and fighting for the people. We're just not seeing that at all. And that to me is a worrying trend, that the people that you've elected to represent your interest are not, for the most part, majority of them are not representing your interest at all. And that to me is so sad. Hence my reason for this headline tonight: dark politics across Guyana. It is dark. So many things are happening. The regime is so corrupt. The regime is anti working class people. They're just anti almost everything that is good. But yet we have an opposition that is sleeping. We have an opposition leader, God in heaven knows what's happening. You know, we have members of parliament who are more comfortable taking pictures, putting on a little makeup, do the little hair. Sorry about that. It was just being a bit naughty there, right? But we don't have strong enough opposition politicians. We're just not seeing that. We must, at least I want to be able to be as frank with you guys that if it continues like that, then 2023, I don't know what's going to happen. These members of parliament in the opposition, if they know that they're not up to the task, stop fooling people. Stop being paid under false pretense. Just leave the job. Tell the people that you no longer can do it. Join some fashion show, open some beauty salon, open some barber shop. Did I say barber shop? Dr. Hines, we're talking about the police and the perception of corruption and bribery and all these different things. What's going on with the opposition, sir? We're not seeing the sort of vibrant and forceful opposition that we are accustomed to when we were in the trenches. I know you were in the trenches during Burnham days or whatever, but I'm talking about when we were in the trenches 10, 15 years ago, fighting against a wicked, a demonic, and a murderous PPP regime. We're not seeing that fighting spirit. Talk about us, sir. Talk about that.
Well, yes, you're correct. If one is making a comparison behind the opposition that you have now and the opposition in times gone by, including the PPP opposition, one would have to say that there is much more that can be done with this opposition.
One second, Doc. 1 second. This is not giving praises to the wicked and corrupt PPP. But I will tell you this, they weren't sleeping as an opposition.
No.
They were on their radio station every single day, Freedom Radio on Rob Street, every single day fighting the government. Every single day they were there doing that. And not only that, they were making statements to their people. They were doing dog whistles and all these things. Before I ask you to continue again, let me just play this clip quickly. While they were in the opposition.
Right across Ghana, when the ministers of Granger or Nagamutu come here after the 21st of March, you say to them, walk behind them, chase them out, they're going to be illegal. Say to them, you're illegal. Free up the country, you're undemocratic.
They were in the opposition, going out there, talking the talk. We're not seeing it. Your take, sir.
Well, if you are a political party or a political movement, at any given point in history, you have to have a view of what you think your role is and what is your view of the country that you are living in and what is demanded of the opposition. You see, each opposition has to frame its own mandate. It has to frame its own view. And I think as an opposition, and we're talking about the PNC, the AFC, the WPA, and all those others who are on this side of the aisle, I don't think that as a collective, they have sat down and worked out what is demanded of them of this time. you first of all have to do an analysis of the time. You have to do an analysis of the regime. You have to frame the regime. And if you frame the regime, then you frame the response to the regime. And I don't think that we have done that. I don't think the parliamentarians are bad people. I think some of them are pretty brave people.
No, I don't think, Dr. Hines, I don't think that they're bad people. But I don't think most of them are brave people. I just don't think so. I'm not seeing that bravery in most of them. There are a couple of them who are brave enough, but the majority of them, let's be honest, they're just not cut out to be in politics. They're just not brave.
Maybe not so, Mark. People sometimes grow into the role of politics, but I think what the opposition is lacking more than just the individuals being brave and so on. What the opposition is lacking is a sense of its own role. And I think if the opposition is clear about the sense of its own role, for example, what is the role of parliament? I don't think that the parliamentarians are clear in their minds what is the role of a parliamentarian in 2022 against a regime of the nature that it is. So you hear the parliamentarians say the government is dictatorial. But the next question, when a government is dictatorial, what is the role of the parliament?
But Dr. Hines, you have been teaching politics for years now. That is political 101. They don't have to go in parliament to know what their roles are. A high school child is smart enough to know that, Dr. Hines.
But you have to frame the situation, and I think sometimes parliamentarians think that they're in a normal parliament. And I think that's where the problem is.
If any one of these members of parliament believe that they're in a normal parliament, well, maybe they are not normal. Well, we all know that it hasn't been normal.
Perhaps that is the level they need to be critiqued. If I sound as though I'm defending them, perhaps
no, that's okay. And I'm not, mind you, I'm not against them.
Yeah.
But I just feel that they need to be far more aggressive. And if they can do the job, then let somebody else do it. That's all.
But you see, Mark, they're not independent parliamentarians. They're parliamentarians of a political party. And I think that's where the problem is. The problem is with the opposition political parties, not the individual opposition parliamentarians.
Then who is to be blamed?
I wouldn't use the word blame, but who is responsible? And it is the parties individually and as a collective. I do not think the political parties in the opposition have got a full grasp of what is before them. Now, they know, I'm sure, because I speak to them, they know they're up against a dictatorial regime. They know that they're up against people who want a particular kind of action. They know they're up against oil companies who are calling the shots. They know they're up against big countries who are defending their economic interests. They know those things. What I don't think we have been able to do as an opposition is to bring all of those things together and then say, given this, what should be done? And that's where I think the problem is. All right? You have a support base which is frustrated. And if you believe that that support base is made up of human beings and not just voters, then your response would be different. Now, there's one thing to respond to your supporters as voters, and another thing to respond to them as human beings who are feeling the squeeze. If you respond to them as human beings who are feeling the squeeze, then your role as a parliamentarian changes. If you're responding to them as mere voters waiting to go and vote in 2025, then why you just go in parliament and you oppose? You oppose. So I am saying it is where the political parties are and how they see the situation. That then will determine how the actors on their side act.
it appears as though they're taking too long to understand the nature of the beast that they're dealing with in Parliament. They
Fair
have,
comment.
they
Fair
have
comment.
there are lots of evidence that presented to them in Parliament to understand their role by now and to understand who they're dealing with. But it seemed to be a bigger problem. It seems to me that most of those parliamentarians are out to basically sell themselves as an individual and not necessarily as a collective uh, group in a struggle up against a very wicked and vindictive, evil installed regime. It seems to me that they, apart from not knowing what their roles are, is that they have given up. You have mentioned because the fact that they're up against oil tycoons, big industries, the ABC countries, and so forth. But I've seen young politicians in other countries, apart from Guyana, are able to stand up against those big giants as well. And there's nothing preventing our opposition parliamentarians or whatever from standing up and speaking the truth, standing up on the side of their people, their support base, their constituency. You said that their support base are basically confused. And I agree with you. They're confused, they're frustrated because there's lack of leadership. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for people to stand up against these vagabonds in the PPP regime, and they're not seeing that in the politicians and the opposition side. They're not seeing that sort of leadership, and hence their reason for being frustrated. The reason also, and majority of that has to do with the politicians are the ones who are making them frustrated on a daily basis.
No, you're on spot. Look, at the end of the day, Mark Benchop, you've been around this thing long enough to know that at the end of the day, ideas are what run the world. Ideas. And I think when we look at our side of the aisle, we come up short in terms of ideas. I think we're doing better at sound bites. We hold press conferences regularly and we give the press some sound bites, and it is carried the next morning or the next day in the papers. And that's fine. That's only part of the politics. What are the ideas that you are putting before your people to deal with the here and now? Now, you want to get back in power. That's going to be come through elections in 2025. But between now and 2025 is a long way away. You don't even know that there would be elections in 2025 the way the PPP is going. You don't know that your people are going to be behind you in 2025. So you've got to come up with ideas that you put together in a narrative that you put before your people to say to them, we are in this thing. And I think we are failing badly. We are failing badly, partly because we don't have a sense of where Guyana is. Like I said, we know Guyana got oil and Guyana is an important country now and so on. But putting it all together and saying this moment is a pivotal moment in our country's history. And that we are part of that history. That half of the population has voted for us. And that the narrative of the other side is not the narrative that our side of the population wants to hear. Our side of the population, the other side of the population doesn't want to look at racial discrimination in its face and say it is. But our side of the aisle, we have to look at racial discrimination in its face and call it for what it is. And our younger politicians don't understand that politics of the moment. Race is a bad thing, and if I say that black people get indiscriminated, Indian people go vex, so I say nothing. It is not every day you talk racial politics. There are times when you have to talk about social class. There are times when you have to talk about gender. But why do you believe the PPP gets all bent out of shape the minute you say this is an apartheid state? Or the minute you point to racial discrimination in contracts? or racial discrimination in sharing. They get bent out of shape. Why? Because that's where they're most vulnerable. And as politicians, you have to make a choice. Are you going to stay and do the same old dance, all the people suffering? Or are you going to say, at this moment, everyone is suffering, but some are suffering more than some? Are you going to say it today so you don't have to say it tomorrow? Or are you never going to say it? You lose touch with your base, and the other side is playing you like a banjo because they know that if you say it, it's hell for them. And they frighten you with all kinds of drumbeats. Don't worry, Ben Shop and David Hines, they are on the fringes. They are the usual suspect. And they frame us because they don't want you to touch us. When your people are saying, touch Ben Shop, touch what's his name? Mr. Burke, touch Hines, because they're touching a nerve that you need to touch. Mark, you know how difficult it is to get them to come on to the show, some of them.
You can say that, but they will quickly jump on a PPP controlled or a money launderer controlled programs. They will quickly jump to that. Yeah. And I'm glad that you have said it, that they hesitate to come on shows like these, your shows, my shows, but I don't give a damn about most of them. I don't invite them any longer. And I'll just talk my story plain until they get their act together. But I'm glad that you let our listeners know that a lot of them are even reluctant to go on your show as well. And that is a bad thing. We are the ones who really campaign to put them in there, but yet they are afraid to come on our show. But yet they want us to fight the same fight that they are not prepared to fight. They want us to drop whatever we're doing to fight their fight, so that they can reap the benefit as what they did in 2015 when they won. And when they were in office, guess who couldn't even come around the kitchen? A David Hines and a Ben Shop and a Lincoln Lewis and so forth. We weren't treated right. We weren't treated properly when they were in office, as we fought to have them there in office. And as we are fighting for them now, they're showing absolutely no respect for us. And that's why I am reciprocating. No respect for them too, because they're not fighters. People don't respect them. And until they change their attitude, then we all can come to the table and sit down and talk again. Dr. Hines, I don't know, so many things happening in this country. We're not seeing proper leadership. We're not seeing the sort of activism from a political standpoint. We got these so-called businesses. We see what's happening here. Nobody to speak out against these things. This is a so-called security agency headed by Jumbo Jet. And look at what they're doing to a businessman who went to go and uplift his money, owed to him. Look at what they're doing. No justice for the family. You're taking all of these injustices, and a blind eye is being turned on these situations, sir.
Well, we are a lawless state. In Haiti right now, the country is being run by gangs, openly run by gangs, and there's no state there. The Americans and others closed down the army a long time ago, so you have a state, a society without a formal army, a formal police. And in its place, you have gangs. In Guyana, that is what we have. We have gangs. They may not be formal and as brazen as the ones in Haiti, but they're there. The state, as Professor Clive Thomas has said years ago, under the PPP, has become a criminalized state where there is a fusion of the state, the government, and the underworld. And we are back there as soon as the PPP comes back to office. The police force is there, but the police force, as we saw in that picture that you've been showing all night, the police force is really subservient to capital, big capital. We have an army, but we have an army that is begging to get a little small piece. So you have these institutions, but these institutions have become subservient to the party and its criminal gangs. And so, in a sense, we have a dysfunctional state in which the underworld and the overworld have taken over. Look at what was done to the mayor. The mayor stood with poor people. He decided in this struggle between those who want order and those who want to make a living, I'm standing with the ones who want to make a living. I'm standing up for humanity. What? The police charges him. What? The army manners him. You decide that the two most powerful arms of the state you are going to put on this man. So the coercive arms of the state are no longer carrying out civic functions. They're carrying out political functions. And that is why you can get them to go and stand up in front of a shop, begging for money, panhandling, as it were, because the people who own capital are now running the police force and the army indirectly. And so it is a breakdown of the state. It is a dysfunctional state. And whenever you live under dysfunctional state, it gobbles up, it consumes every single citizen. It's frightening. It's frightening. And that is the reason they don't want us to talk about it. They don't want the opposition to talk about it. And the opposition is careful, the formal opposition. And so they're not going to frame it in this way. They will talk the usual talk about law and order and so on. But they will not be brutal.
Song bites. They will talk as though they just came home from church on a Sunday afternoon, drinking soup and eating fufu. Soft talks.
There is not our state is dysfunctional. It is dysfunctional. It's been run by gangs. And unlike Haiti, where the gangs are the warlords at the bottom, we have gangs with people at the top. That is what the criminalization of the state is.
Don't be surprised that Guyana gets like Haiti. Eventually, we are seeing signs of that.
Yes.
We don't want that to be the case, but we're seeing the signs. We're seeing the hooligans in big guns. They're given AK-47, M70, all these manner of things to run so-called security firms. We're seeing it. We see one so-called businessman posing up with a big, what appears to be a AK-47. I believe it's the same Mohammed guy. All these different things we're seeing. The signs do not look good for Guyana. We've been there before, Dr. Hines. We can see these signs and we can relate and we can say to our people that it doesn't look good. Guyana down the road, it doesn't look good, sir.
No, it doesn't. And we have to continue to stand up. I am saying 2023 will have to be decisive. We can't take it no more.
It's got to be a year
should not
for
take it anymore.
Serious political fighters. It's got to be a year for that. And nothing is wrong with saying Chetty spoke about fighting. Jack Day spoke about fighting. Irfan and all of these folks, you think they're easy? A lot of them are hooligans. Take a look. Unfortunately, it looks like the leadership of the opposition, the current leadership of the opposition, doesn't understand political struggle, doesn't understand how to fight back. It's more song bites, and it's a sad situation right now. Hence, lack of serious leadership in the opposition. Dr. Hines, I know you've had a pretty busy day. You've been on your show as well. But quickly before we go, this vagabond Charandas apologizes at farewell for abusing rights activists. He apologized, but then he gave an excuse. He still gave an excuse why he had to cuss back. Why he had to cuss back. Your take on this political vagabond, my description.
First of all, the headline is misleading. There was no apology from that gentleman. There was no apology from Sharon Das. Sharon Das gave a sexist response to the charges that are leveled against him. Basically saying that if women have equal rights, that should mean that men should fight them and beat them and curse them. That is what the man is saying. That after women have fought for equal rights in our society, that equal right means that a man must have the equal right to abuse them. That is what that gentleman has said. And that disturbs me immensely. I don't get into the politics of individuals and so on. I do not think Sharon Das is an important person. I do not think that Sharon Das makes history, even though he was involved in the no confidence motion. I do not think that Sharon Das.
Yeah, questionable.
Yeah. Well, yes. So I do not believe. I believe that whole operation was staged by others. Sharon Das happened to be a little person that was in the mix of things. And so I don't like to talk about people like Sharon Das. I don't really. But when I heard that fellow, I said, this is how these people feel about women. Can you imagine what they're saying in private and not so private spaces about Amerindians and Black people? If he's saying that openly about women, basically, you all get equal rights and you all must take blows. Can you imagine what they're saying about Amerindian people and Black people? That is what frightens
we can just imagine. In fact, a lot of us already know how they feel. Quickly before we go, let's just remind the people what this political vagabond, and I like how Starbuck News put it in describing him as disgraced, because that's who he is. That's what he's about. Yeah, that's a different videotape. So many videotapes we've got.
Are you any better?
No.
You're throwing out a helpless dog?
What helpless dog? I don't need a dog in my yard, all right? Okay. You want a dog, take it, put it between your legs.
You little bastard.
No, you probably want the dog to fuck you. That's what you want. I don't care. I don't care who you are.
I don't care who the hell you are.
Fuck you.
Yeah, dekha.
Now listen to me.
You're drunk. You're
Don't
bloody,
let any woman come in my yard.
You're bloody drunk.
Hello. You like the camera?
You don't understand English.
Well, you heard him. Don't let any woman, no woman at all, must go. Well, we understand it. I mean, look, people are entitled to their sexuality. He is entitled to like whomever he likes. Obviously, he doesn't want women in his yard. We know exactly who he likes, men in his yard. But again, your take when you heard that, Dr. Hines, that video.
Mark Benchop, you are old enough to know that when a man says to a woman about an animal between her leg, you know what that means. Some of the younger people may not know what that means beyond the words. But Mark Benchop, you're old enough. Most of our audience is old enough to know when you say something like that to a woman, what you mean. It's the height of male arrogance and violence against women. He knows what he was saying to that woman. And if you can say that to an Indian woman, what will you say to a Black woman or a brown woman? You understand why they spat on that young woman, Ballers. You understand why they lock up that young black lawyer is coming from a worldview that is encapsulated in that comment that man made to that woman. And the fact that the government has not seen it fit to toss that man into some little room says that the government is itself an enabler of that ugliness that passes for diplomacy. Where next are these people taking our country? Where next are we allowing them to take our country? That assault on that woman was not just an assault on that individual woman, an assault on womanhood with all the negative connotations that males have used to describe women. If we did it in 1922, why the hell is someone in such a high place doing that in 2022 and not any kind of discipline from the government? They can go to hell. They do not represent me.
Fair enough. They don't represent majority of the people of Guyana. They've been installed, and there seem to be this trait. Here's another vagabond. This one, Rogers, whatever his first name is, assaulted a 13-year-old girl back in 2013. He went to jail for this. And recently, he, according to allegations, he roughed up or cursed out a woman out there at Bad Settlement. Nothing. It seemed to be the trait. There's this trait with these men that have so much hatred for women. And we understand why, this, especially from this guy and the other previous vagabond. But I don't know, Dr. Hines, your closing remarks before we get to that. I was reading an article on this Congressman-elect George Santos admits lying about his education. And you know who came to mind, right?
Yeah.
Your closing remarks, sir.
Yeah. Mark, we all got licks to go to school. And we learned that education is not something to be trifled with. You must get it, but you must work for it. Absolutely. Those who like to tell us that all people are lazy, they don't like to work, we know better. Those of us who have had the good fortune to have letters behind our names, we work for it. We work for it because we know it's honorable to do so. And when you have this, and when you have heads of states who lie about their education, you ask yourself, what else have they lied about? This young man called me a joker once. And after I settled him, undressed him for the world to see his naked indolence and ignorance, he will leave me alone from now on. But leaving me alone is not the problem. Leave my people alone. Stop riding them with your power that was given to you by others. When you speak, you must speak with dignity, and you must speak with a sure understanding that your knowledge is enshrined in the piece of paper they give you, and that piece of paper is testimony that you have worked hard and that you have used your God-given talent to get there. Education is not a fate. Education is not something you mess with, and you come with your pageant self and say you want one Guyana. Your one Guyana must exclude you. You're a cog. You're a cog. And the worst kind of cheating is when you peep in your neighbor book and not only take what they've written in their book, but you turn it into a certificate. 2023 is 100 years since the Demerara Slave Rebellion, the largest slave rebellion in the Western Hemisphere, when our foreparents, still in chains, still behind the bars of the plantation, said, we ain't taking this no more. They've left with us that history, and what are we doing with it? In 2023, it must be the year when we stand up for the best in us, when we stand up for the decency in us, when we stand up for our country, when we stand up for humanity. The road can no longer be hard because it's been 2.5 years. We have traversed that road before, and we got to do it again. We got to do it again. 2023 must be the year of the turn. The year when we turn our face away from stupidness. The year when we turn our faces away from what we depend. The year when we turn our faces away from being governed by Guinness and Excel, and turn our faces. I'm talking to the young people here. I'm talking to young people here that we got to stop getting high on Excel and Guinness and get high on the struggle for justice. That's my 2023 resolve.
The last person that told people to stay off from Guinness and hanging out and so forth got into trouble with that statement, David Granger. Told them to stop drinking Guinness. Y'all go at the backland, y'all farm, y'all take care of y'all land. And people didn't understand.
It is the getting high.
People didn't understand.
High, but you must get high on the quest for justice.
You know, and getting high, people drink a little Guinness. Nothing is wrong with that. I haven't had one in over probably a year or so, but I'm in the mood for a Guinness. But it looks as though most of our politicians in the opposition and members of parliament are high on power. They've got to get off. They've got to get off that, because 2023, I'm just going to take it at them. I'm not there. If we can't just fight for betterment when those who are supposed to represent us, who are being paid to represent us, who are getting duty-free concessions, are treating their positions as though they're in some fashion show. It's a fashion show. Who looks good on social media? We don't want that. You know, look, we're getting up there in age, Dr. Hines. We're getting there. I'm right behind you. I'm right there behind you. Should we continue every year to say, keep the struggle up, keep the struggle up, keep the struggle up? And then our generation say the same thing, keep the struggle up, keep the struggle. It's got to stop. Hopefully soon.
Yes. We have to talk about the here and now, the 2023. And let's see what happens from there on.
Don't be a stranger. If they don't want to go on your show, call Rhonda Lane, call Chisel Chipper, call any one of them in the audience here, Colin Barnwell, call Sandra Steele, call the people, call Lemon. Lemon will even go on your show if these lazy, not all of them, mind you, but the lazy ones sitting there as members of parliament, only waiting to receive some pension and whatever. You know, I'm going to be ruthless with them in 2023. I'm dead serious about that. But for now, let me just relax a little. Dr. Hines, if we don't see each other back again on this show, I want to wish you and your family and all of your supporters as well a prosperous 2023. A 23 that will see the result of all the people being free from bondage, free from a vindictive, free from a racist, free from a corrupt regime in Guyana. Freedom is a must. Thank you so much. Thank you.
God-given right.
Absolutely.
Happy New Year. New York cook-up is not the same like a Guyanese cook up, but still cook up on Old Year's night. I suspect that as you grow older, you're becoming a churchman. So if you can slip into church at 11:30 and let the New Year's break you there, we will be better for the New Year, Mr. Benchop.
Not necessarily becoming a churchman. I'm not sure when was the last time I went to church, I'll be honest, but I'm a praying guy. Praying, mind you, not Prey like those corrupt politicians in the PPP. But sometimes we do, as human beings, get fed up to see the lazy bunch, to see individuals who should be in the streets, individuals who should be standing up, who should be fighting for the people's rights, and they're just not doing that. 2+ years and nothing, no good results at all. For this end of 2022, I give them an F. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I give them an F. God bless you. Dr. David Hines, dear, I salute him. He continues on his show. He doesn't give up, and those are the sort of things we need. We don't need people who give up. If I see you tomorrow evening, it means that I'm feeling better. But I must apologize for not being able to be on with you every night. Sometimes you do believe that your energy should be focused in other areas. And in 2023, I will certainly be conserving my energy in areas that are far more beneficial for me and family, loved ones. And it doesn't mean that I'm giving up on the struggle. It simply means that I will basically decide on what struggle I want to be in. I'm not giving up on the struggle with the people. I'm still with you guys. But it's time to do some introspections. It's just not working out. And this is not to make some of you feel sad about the situation. But we need better politicians in the opposition. We need better leadership in the opposition to confront this evil, this wicked, this vindictive, this racist, installed PPP regime. And sometimes when you look forward for those fighters, those who should be fighting, who are being paid to represent you, who aren't doing it, who appears to have sold you guys out, appearance, mind you, perception, mind you, we just need to look for new fighters, brave ones. If these guys can get their act together, then they must be kicked out from their offices. And I'm speaking about those in the opposition. I'll be back with you guys, though. Not to worry. God bless you all. Until maybe tomorrow. Have a good night. So long.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you, so call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Basement level vibes with another one, straight up. Blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benscop, who tell the truth? Mark Benscop, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benscop, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benscop, straight up from the root. Mark Benz Kappa do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benz Cap stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Benz Cap, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benz Cap, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benz Cap, straight up from the root. Mark Benz Cap, who tell the truth? Mark Benz Cap, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benz Cap, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benz Cap, straight up from the root. Mark Benz, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Benz Cap upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and on the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Benz Cap, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benz Cap, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benz Cap, straight up from the root. Mark Benz Cap, who tell the truth? Mark Benz Cap, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Benz Cap, radio station is the fruit. Mark Benz Cap, straight up from the root. Mark Benz Cap, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Benz Cap stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can need it.